This stunning bouquet of classic ivory roses features blue-green eucalyptus foliage that highlights the roses beautifully, plus delicate wired crystal beads which can be matched to the decoration on the bride's dress. The display is created using the spiraling stems method, giving a domed effect to the bouquet's centre and adding strong design element with the formation of the stems. The stems are bound with broad satin ribbon and then with organza ribbon secured with pearl-headed pins. You'll need to pre-prepare a couple of things before starting to create your bouquet. Cut a 1 metre length of garden string. Double back about 30 centimetres of this at one end and form a loop, double knotting this to secure. You'll need this to bind around the stems of your finished bouquet, and you won't want to lay the bouquet down at this late stage to prepare the string. You'll also need to pre-cut a length of adhesive floristry tape, often known as pot tape. Cut about 60 centimetres from the reel and stick it to the edge of the table, ready to use later. Take your conditioned roses and strip away the remaining sets of leaves and the storm petals. Prepare all the roses that you're going to use, around 19 or 20, in the same way. Dispose of the leaves, but keep the storm petals if you like. They make wonderful natural confetti. Put the roses back in water until you need them. Take your conditioned stems of eucalyptus, cut off the side shoots and snip into shorter and varying lengths, about 30 centimetres on average. Cut long shoots in half to do this if necessary. Strip the leaves off the lower half to 2/3 of the stems. Some leaves will pull off quite easily, others will have to be stripped away individually. Prepare more of the eucalyptus than you think you'll need, as you don't want to have to stop halfway through constructing your bouquet to prepare more. Prepare some shorter pieces too. These can be used around the edges of the bouquet to help frame the design. Cut off any sharp ends or extra bits of foliage so the stems are flush with the top set of leaves. Dispose of the leaves and wash your hands. They'll be sticky from the sap, and you want to avoid getting this on the bouquet. Take about 12 of the beaded wires that you've already prepared and the roses. Start with a rose and lay a length of foliage across the stem at about a 45-degree angle. Grasping the stems in one hand, twist or rotate slightly and add in a beaded wire, also at an angle. Rotate again in your hand. Lay another piece of foliage across the stems at an angle, twist, add another rose, then more foliage and a beaded wire, rotating after each addition. Hold the bouquet stems in one hand, not so tightly that you get cramp in your fingers, but firmly enough to keep them secure. Use the other hand to pick up and add the material. The aim is to create a domed centre of the bouquet, with the sprigs of foliage and the beaded wires standing slightly proud of the flower heads. Make sure you add your material to the bouquet at the same angle each time, and rotate the bouquet in the same direction so that the stems spiral out evenly below your hand. If you need to stop for any reason, loop the string around the stems and secure. You should then be able to lay the bouquet down over the edge of the table and return to it later. When you go back to it, either carry on as before, adding flowers, beaded stems and foliage with the tie still in place, or loosen this, remove and continue. Make sure that all the foliage in the bouquet is kept above your hand point. You don't want any leaves to appear further down the stems. Keep working, building up the arrangement until you're happy with it and stopping every now and then to adjust the stems and the beaded wires. With all your flowers in place, surround the roses with additional eucalyptus to hide the flower stems. Thread in some more beaded stems if you like, to make sure they're spread evenly throughout the bouquet. Wrap your prepared string around the stems at the hand point and thread the free end through the prepared loop. Wrap it around several times in the same place, then tie the loose ends together with a double knot and trim. Bind the prepared tape over the string, keeping the binding as neat and as narrow as possible. Now you need to cut the stems down, but not to their final point yet, just to shorten them. Grasp the stems and cut them straight across using secateurs. Fold back the ends of the beaded wires, aligning them with the tape so that there are no sharp ends of wire within the stems of the bouquet. Check through carefully to make sure you found them all. Wrap another piece of pot wire around the wires, over the top of the previous tape to bind in the ends. It helps if you pre-cut a piece of tape before you reach this stage. If your bouquet isn't going to be needed for a while, set it in water until you're ready to continue working on it. When you are ready to continue, use the hot glue gun to put a dab of glue on the tape binding the stems. Keep some water to hand at this point. Attach a length of broad satin ribbon to the glue, be careful with your fingers and the hot glue, and then bind the stems firmly, overlapping the ribbon as you go. Bind down the stems for about 10 centimetres, then cut the ribbon. Put a dab of glue on the binding and glue down the loose end, again being careful of the hot glue. Take the wired organza ribbon, trim away any loose wires sticking out at the end, and then wrap it around the satin ribbon a couple of times to secure. Don't use the hot glue gun, the glue will show through the organza. Bind it around about 6 or 7 times to cover the satin ribbon and soften the effect. Work your way back up to the top. Fold under the raw edge and secure with pearl-headed pins. These may be quite hard to push in as they're actually going into the stems. They need to do this rather than push between the stems, as they could then prick the bride's hand. they bend, pull out and replace. Rub away any dirt that's attached itself to the pins. Finally, use secateurs to trim the stems to about 10 centimetres below the hand position. Don't cut them too short as they need to show in order to balance the design. Put the flowers in water until needed, but don't allow the ribbon to sit in the water, just the end of the stems. Make sure the stems are dried off properly before the bride takes the bouquet. Your finished bouquet, a beautiful arrangement of ivory white roses and blue-green eucalyptus foliage threaded with beaded wire highlights in a smooth domed shape and with ribbon-bound stems.